Welcome to the Truth Must Be Told podcast. Thank you for joining us today as we share the good news of Jesus in this uncertain world. If you have any questions, suggestions, or comments, please reach out to me at thetruthmustbetold93@gmail.com. Now, if you've missed any episodes, you can go to anchor.fm and look for me, Sal Passos. While you're there, hit the support button and help this podcast to continue. For those of you on YouTube, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any of these exciting shows. Thank you once again for your support, and I'll be seeing you soon on The Truth Must Be Told. There is a movement out there that want to equate those who stand with freedom to be on equal plane with the Nazi Party. And we're going to discuss that today on The Truth Must Be Told, so stand by.
He's just ignorant. He doesn't know any better than to tell the truth.
It's the truth. I just want to report the truth. It'd be a nice change of pace.
When in doubt, tell the truth.
Edward, I tried to tell the truth, and they kicked me off the air.
You can't handle the truth.
And now, speaking the truth, even though it hurts. Here's the host of The Truth Must Be Told, Sal Passos.
Cut the horseplay, Harry. What's the matter with you guys?
Get ready. Here he comes.
Tschechoslowakei und Polen kaputt und der Fräulein mit der Glockenspiel und der Basternholter verboten und der Apfelstrudel mit der Lederkranz. Gesundheit! Everything is Gesundheit! Kaputt und verboten! Gentlemen, attention! Heil Hitler! Heil it! Droppen Sie dead! Quiet! They're indoctrinating! Is you all indoctrinated? No! Is you all good little Nazis? No! Is you all good little adults? No! Then we will all salute Feldwebel Schulz! About face! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil!
Ah, one Führer is enough.
Willkommen, meine Damen und Herren. Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome to today's show. I think I was getting a little carried away with my indoctrination. Well, I couldn't help myself putting that up. That's from Stalag 17, for those of you who have never seen that film. The men in the concentration camp were giving copies of Mein Kampf so that they could be indoctrinated into the Nazi way of thinking. Excuse me. And I couldn't help myself by put that up there today. That's what I think about when I think of indoctrination. But Lori brought out a good point. Lori and I were having a discussion and this week, and she brought out a good point. She asked me if I noticed that during the truckers' convoy in Canada, that the Emperor Trudeau there compared Canadian truckers to Nazis. Trudeau said, and I quote, "Freedom of expression, assembly, and association are the cornerstones of democracy, but Nazi symbolism, that expression and assembly association are not cornerstones of democracy, but Nazi symbolism, racist imagery." It says there's a lot of crazy things going on out there. People are just, they're calling those who would dare to stand up for freedom Nazis. In fact, equating the honk honk of the truckers' horns to mean Heil Hitler. So it needs to be, people are these woke, it's just getting crazy. And there seems to be a movement out there that make anyone that stands for freedom to become a Nazi. They're just saying, oh, they're equivalent to Nazis in their thinking and what they're doing. And I think that is totally wrong. Look what's happened in the past few years. Donald Trump was called an evil dictator, as Hitler was. He was a Nazi. Putin is claiming to denazify Ukraine, so he declares war. And why? Why is this term being brought out all of a sudden? And because they do want to indoctrinate us. The left and the New World Order want to indoctrinate us into a way of thinking, okay? In my last show, I pointed out that they want to desensitize us to that new way of thinking. They subtly expose us to a radical new way of life and a new way of thinking, and we slowly begin to accept it. I mean, look at the way it was. I mean, you as Christians now, when you see a person that's depicted as gay on television, it doesn't even bother you anymore. You're not even offended because it's so much out there. We look at what's happening in sports with transgenders, and we just readily accept this, and there's no pushback because this is now it's becoming an acceptable way of life. So they subtly begin to sneak this stuff in, and much like Hitler, who through propaganda campaigns amplified his hatred to those under his rule. All right, so his hatred, not to the people that were under his rule, but for the people he disliked. This is nothing new. The Russians have been doing this for years. They put smear campaigns out, propaganda, and they've been doing this for years. But the Russians will tell you that they did it first. Okay, but nothing strikes fear and concern into the hearts of people than that what Hitler and the Nazis did to people during World War II. The Nazi Party officially was called the National Socialist German Workers' Party. All right, it was a far right political party in Germany. Now, when they call it far right, that means they were anti-socialism, anti-communism, and things like that. And they were active in Germany between 1920 and 1945. All right, and that created and supported the ideology of Nazism. Its precursor was the German Workers' Party that existed from 1919 to 1920. And the Nazi Party emerged from the extremist German nationalist, racist, and populist Franco-RPS paramilitary culture, which fought against the communist uprising in World War I Germany. The party was created to draw workers away from communism and into Volkovich nationalism. Initially, Nazi political strategy focused on anti-big business. Tell me if this doesn't sound familiar. Anti-big business, anti-bourgeois, anti-capitalist rhetoric. That's what they did. This later was downplayed to gain support of business leaders, and in the 1930s, the party's main focus shifted to anti-Semitic and anti-Marxist themes. Pseudoscientific racist theories were central to Nazism, expressing the idea of a people's community. The party aimed to unite radically desirable Germans as national comrades while excluding those deemed either to be political dissidents, physically or intellectually inferior, or of a foreign race. The Nazis sought to strengthen the Germanic people and the Aryan master race. The Aryan master race through radical political purity, racial purity, and eugenics, the broad social welfare programs, and collective subordination of individual rights, which could be sacrificed for the good of the state on behalf of the people. To protect the supposed purity and strength of the Aryan race, the Nazis sought to exterminate Jews, Romani, Poles, and most other Slavs, along with the physically and mentally disabled. They disenfranchised and segregated homosexuals, black people, Jehovah's Witnesses, and political opponents. The persecution reached its climax when the party-controlled German state set in motion the final solution, an industrial system of genocide which achieved the murder of around 6 million Jews and millions of other targeted victims. It is what became known as the Holocaust. Adolf Hitler was the party's leader since 1921. He was appointed Chancellor of Germany by President Paul von Hindenburg in 1933, and he rapidly established a totalitarian regime known as the Third Reich. And of course, after the defeat of the Third Reich at the end of World War II in Europe, the party was declared to be illegal by the Allied powers, who carried out denazification in the years after the war, both in Germany and territories occupied by the Nazi forces. So you can see where the brutality of the Nazi Party, wanting to get rid of those that they didn't agree with. And I'm sorry, I had to put a throat drop in. My voice is suddenly giving out all day, no problem. Wonder why. But the New World Order that's out there, they want to, the people who are behind the New World Order, and you can substitute that for the realm of Satan, they instilled the images of those opposed to them. They are using the remembrance of Nazi Germany to create doubt and fear into the hearts of the world. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the Nazi and Confederate flags that were flown in Canada during the truckers' protest, or so Trudeau claims. I didn't see them. Maybe you saw them. I didn't. They may have been flown by plants. Now, those are people purposely sent by the left to plant discord and trouble, to push their own agenda. You know, one bee flying around is not an issue, but a whole swarm of them can be a problem, and that is how the New World Order looks at those who would have the audacity to stand up for their freedoms. If they could squelch one person, that's fine. But when a group of people start getting together and forming together in unity, they don't like that because it could spread. They don't want freedom lovers to stand together and voice their opinions. Why? Well, to be frank, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And if freedom lovers make enough of a stink, if they raise their voices loud enough, eventually someone is going to listen, and the left wants none of that. Yet their voices are being heard. You could tell by the reactions from the opposition. You know, look at the families that complained about CRT being taught to their children in schools. They are now being labeled as domestic terrorists. Those who would dare not to take the mandated snake bite, you know what I'm talking about, are considered unpatriotic. Their ultimate goal is world dictatorship and make those who seek freedom the bad guys, hence Nazis. Now, why would Putin call the Ukrainian people Nazis? Why would Trump be called a Nazi? Etc. Why is this stuff happening? Again, because they want to put that fear. They want to put fear of the Nazi Party, fear of what the Third Reich did, how they slaughtered millions of people, how they did so many of these things, and they want to put that fear into people's hearts and say, "Oh yeah, you're being like Nazis. You want to dictate all this stuff." The sad thing is, whatever the left or the New World Order people say that the conservatives are doing, they themselves are doing those very things. They want to cover up their evil behavior so that they seem like the good guys or the victims of some sort of plot, while they themselves plot evil. You know, it so reminds me, I've dealt a lot with people who are subject to addictions, drug and alcohol addictions. And when they tend to be caught doing something bad, they will shift the blame onto somebody else. Well, it's your fault. It's your fault that I tried to break into your room because, you know, it's your fault I stole the money because you're not supporting me enough. It's your fault that they shift the blame to you. They divert it. And this is what the left is doing. So whenever you hear someone on the left or, you know, someone on the liberal side or a woke person saying that you people are racist and this is what you're doing, you can rest assured that they are the ones that are doing that very thing. I guarantee you. Like I said, I've dealt enough with the blame game from people who are addicted. But this is something that we see in the world today, don't we? We see people that do not want to take responsibilities for their actions. They would rather blame someone else entirely for what's going wrong in their life. Oh, it's not the It's not the person's fault for pulling the trigger, it's the gun's fault. No, it's the person who picked up the gun and decided to commit a murder. It's their fault, not the gun manufacturer's fault. Are we going to ban SUVs now because that guy in, where was it? Indianapolis, Illinois, wherever it was, it ran over those people in the parade? We don't even hear about that guy anymore. But you don't hear cries of, we need to stop the manufacture of SUVs because they're running over people. You don't hear that cry going out. I'm not trying to get on a tangent here. I'm just trying to say that they don't want to take responsibility for themselves. They want to make it look like they are the greatest thing since sliced bread. Oh yeah, I may have. Look what's happening in New York now. You can commit a crime with a gun in New York. As long as you don't threaten the people with that gun, it's not a felony. Hello? The mere fact that I have a gun and I'm robbing you, the threat is already there. Are you going to say to somebody, I have a gun, give me your wallet, but you don't pull the gun out? And then the fact that this no bail or low bail system that they have now, criminals are getting back out on the streets, it's ridiculous. And yet this is what is happening. And why? Because it's not fair. It's not that person's fault. It's society's issues that caused this person to steal. Oh, come on. Really? You know, that's what I got to say about that. No, it's not society's problem. It's that person's problem. Are you telling me that every person who grew up in a bad situation became a criminal? I don't think so. I think if you look at the background of many successful people, you may find some of them that lived in the slums, but they decided to get out. And they decided to do something better. I'm not talking about racial issues here. I'm not talking about black, white, green, whoever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anybody who is in a bad situation, if they put their mind to it, can change the situation around. I just heard the story, excuse me, of the gentleman who started the Holiday Inn hotel chain. I believe his name was Johnson. During the Depression in the 1930s, he was fired from his job. And he didn't know what to do, but he didn't let it discourage him. What he did when he went home and he told his wife, and said, what are we going to do about this? And she said, he said, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to put a second mortgage on the house. I'm going to mortgage the house, and I'm going to start a construction business. And that's exactly what he did. He built 2 buildings with the funds he had. At the end of 5 years, by the 5th year, he was a millionaire. He had the drive and the intensity to go ahead and do it. He didn't let the circumstances around him dictate what was going to happen to him. He took charge of the situation. So there's plenty of people out there that are like that. And I'm sure if you looked up a few of these people, you'd be quite surprised at their backgrounds and how they became popular. But a person has a choice, and they're going to be held accountable for their choices. You cannot just say, okay, I'm going to, it's my circumstances, so I'm going to go ahead and rob a bank. No, it's not like that. You chose. You choose to walk your path. Either you walk the good path or you walk the bad one. Okay, it's your choice. When you stand before the Lord one day, you'll be held accountable for the things that you've done, not for the things your parents done, not for the things the teacher at school made you do. No, you're going to be held accountable for your choices. So as I said, that whatever the people are doing and they blame you for, or blame conservatives for, or blame others for, they themselves are doing. Remember that. That's pretty popular out there. That's what it says. We'll be right back. All right, I just want to take a second here just to plug YubNub. Once again, YubNub is a social platform, yubnub.social. You can catch me there on the Truth Must Be Told podcast. Go to yubnub.social, the Truth Must Be Told podcast. YubNub is a lot like Facebook. It is it's Facebook's competition, actually. You can go there, you can play games, you can post social media, and all uncensored, which is great. So you can say things about the snake bite. You can say things about whatever you want. You won't be censored on that platform. So you can check me out there. Again, that's yubnub.social, the Truth Must Be Told podcast. And don't forget, you can also catch the show on YouTube. That's show the videos on YouTube. You can catch the program. And I don't do a live show. I record this ahead of time because I have to record for the audio portion. So I record the visual so you can see my smiling face. But while you're there on YouTube, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And hit that bell, make that bell a dark bell, and you'll get notified when I put up a new video. And some things may be changing soon. I'm actually thinking about doing more videos, and I got some things in the work. So we're going to be taking it a step at a time and see how God takes it. But meantime, you can catch me on those platforms along as well, wherever you're listening to. iHeartRadio and Anchor.fm. I'm in a lot of places. You can tune in and listen, or you could tune in and watch. Now, Proverbs 6, verses 16 through 19 says this: there are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a man who stirs up dissension among brothers. These things are detestable to God. One who devises evil schemes. And that's what's happening out in the world today. The leaders of the World Economic Forum, the centralized bank, those in the Catholic Church who want to unify everybody with Muslims and Jews, they're devising an evil plan, an evil plot to apply to one world government, a one world religion, a one world money system. This is that we see in end time prophecy. But the Bible tells us in Micah 2:1, woe to those who plan iniquity, to those who plot evil on their beds. At morning light, they carry it out because it is in their power to do it. So they devise evil schemes, evil witnesses. And the best thing that you can do as a Christian is to remember that God has his eyes on all this. Don't let what's happening around you scare you. Jesus said in Matthew 24, As he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming, 'I am the Messiah,' and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it you are not alarmed." Jesus is telling you these things. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Okay, so the love of many is going to turn cold, he said, because of the increase of wickedness in the world. Many will turn away from the faith and betray and hate each other, and that's happening. Many false prophets will appear. He says that a second time now. He's trying to let you know. In verse 11, he says it at the beginning, verse 4, and he says it then again at verse 11, verse 5. And then he says it again at verse 11. Don't let these false prophets deceive you. And that's even the prophets of climate control, the prophets of, look, what's happening in the world today goes beyond the use of common sense. All right. People today are, especially our leaders, are out there and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. They're manipulating and changing things around, and they want you to be, subservient to them. They want you to own nothing, because the elites will own it. You will own nothing, and you will like it. That's what they tell you. Everything will belong to the state. The state will take care of you. You know, perhaps they'll put up so many regulations about how you're supposed to live in your house. Your house has to be green. It has to have this, that, and the other. And if you can't afford to do it, they'll say, well, we'll buy the house from you, and then you rent it from us. So hence you lose your property. I mean, they've said, it's been said many times, you will own nothing and you will like it. Well, the world is kind of going crazy. And we're seeing that increase of wickedness, that the love of most will grow cold. We're seeing that today. People will stand there and watch somebody get beaten, raped, murdered, and do absolutely nothing about it. Well, they may take pictures on their cell phone, but that's about it. There's, Lord, people are getting murdered every day. Children are dying in the womb. Yet we ignore what God says. We ignore what God says in His Word. If we were to follow this, things would be a lot better off, wouldn't it? And yet, well, people ignore it. They don't want to hear the truth of God's Word. They would much rather live their life the way they want. But if you will follow the Lord and the way of the Lord, you'll be much better off. Psalm 1 says, "Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. And whatever he does prospers. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assemblies of the righteous. For the Lord watches the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. That's Psalm 1. Why don't you follow the law of the Lord? I said this last time. If you would read this book and to study to show yourself approved, then when these false things come up, you'll say, oh, I recognize that. That's a lie. That's a lie. Why do the nations conspire and peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth take their stand against, and the rulers gather together against the Lord and against his anointed one. Let us break their chains, they say. Let us throw off their fetters. The one enthroned in heavens laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. Then he rebukes them in their anger and terrifies them with his wrath. And it says, I have installed my king on Zion, my holy hill. I will proclaim the decree of the Lord. God laughs at those who say, I'm going to rise up against God. Your arms are too short to box with God, folks. Ain't going to happen. I encourage you today to do a few things. Number one, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Okay? Just enjoy yourself. Make sure that you're out and praying tomorrow. If you if you got a good local church, that's great. Just make sure they're teaching the Word of God. Enjoy time with your family. And make sure we tell people about Jesus because there isn't much time left. His return is imminent. We don't want to miss it. And we don't want to leave others behind. Again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach me at thetruthmustbetold93@gmail.com. That's thetruthmustbetold93@gmail.com. And, we just ask that you continue to keep this ministry in prayer and that you continue to tune in and listen. I was glad to be here with you tonight. I'm going to cut this short because my throat is really bothering me. So lift me up in prayer. We'll see you guys on Tuesday on The Truth Must Be Told. God bless you and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.